You were one of the first ones that kind of went out there and said, "Yeah, I really think that the Cardinals are not going to select Kyler Murray. That they've thought a lot about it, and that they actually think they'll be better off sticking with Rosen and adding a quality lineman." I remember at the time we thought maybe Bosa. I think in your mock you have Williams going to Arizona. So that's your latest mock. You still stand by that? Because 2 weeks ago, it was like 99% fait accompli. It was a done deal. Kyler Murray was going to Arizona.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome that you guys remember that because not like nobody else does. I've been saying this for a few weeks and my spidey sense has been going off. I think it's legit. When you look at the situation with Rosen and you look at the value that the Cardinals would get in return for trading Josh Rosen and then drafting Kyler Murray, you're basically talking about you're talking about Kyler Murray plus a third-round pick versus Josh Rosen plus Quentin Williams or Nick Bosa. And I think ultimately what it comes down to, and Pete Prisco has reported this on our CBS Sports HQ shows, is that ownership loves the idea of taking Kyler Murray, and Cliff Kingsbury likes the idea of taking Kyler Murray, but the football guys in the building are not sold that Kyler Murray's the way to go. They still believe in Josh Rosen. They think they have a more concrete evaluation on a guy like a Quentin Williams or a Nick Bosa, and that they can in theory, be able to get more out of the Quentin Williams, Josh Rosen combo than they can the Kyler Murray third-round pick combo. So that's why they want to go in the Quentin Williams direction. I do also think, guys, what Arizona would love to have happen and what might actually be happening if you sort of read the tea leaves. All right, so let's look at number one. We got the Cardinals talking about, we might go with Quentin Williams. Well, all of a sudden, that basically opens the door like, hey, is anybody interested in Kyler Murray? If you are, one is available. Let's say the Raiders are interested in Kyler Murray and they want to make a trade up, but they don't want Derek Carr to find out. What would be the best possible way to be able to explore that trade? Kick everybody out of the room, lock the door with just Mike Mayock and John Gruden, and try and hammer out a deal with the Cardinals to make that trade up. If it doesn't work out, no big deal. But if it does, you can move up and get Kyler Murray. And the reason the Raiders have to be worried about it is that the Jets are basically like standing at the bar, Dumb and Dumber style, with their butt stuck out, like putting out the vibe. Like, hey, anybody wants 3, come up and get it. We'll move down for a second-round pick. They badly want to recoup the second-round pick they lost last year in that Sam Darnold trade. And so the Raiders had to be a little fearful somebody could jump in for Murray. And as such, I think that, you look at it as a possible situation where the Raiders might end up trading up to 1. That would be the best-case scenario for the Cardinals. If not, I still think they're going to go Quentin Williams. But, I mean, look, they could go Kyler Murray. Anything is possible in the next 48 hours, I think.
So if go furthest do you see him slipping is to, say, 4? Let's say the Raiders can't work out a deal or whatever. Nobody moves up to the Jets. I mean, is there a situation where all of a sudden, could Kyler Murray be the guy that drops in this?
Yes.
That could happen?
Yeah, I think so. And here's the reason why. It's not necessarily like we don't know the Raiders are doing that. There's just, there is buzz about that possibility. If the Cardinals pass on him and no one trades to 3 and the Raiders are on the clock and they're facing a do we take Kyler or do we ride this with Derek Carr situation, similar to what the Cardinals are really dealing with, they could ultimately decide to pass on him. And then it gets really dicey because I don't see him going to the Jaguars. I don't see Dave Gettleman taking him. I don't see the Giants taking him at all. I mean, he's not Dave Gettleman's type of quarterback unless ownership jumps in. I don't see the Broncos taking him, right? And then so it's like, is he going to go to the Bengals? Do they like Dwayne Haskins better? Are they even going to take a quarterback? There's a possibility he's like sitting there for Washington, which would be insane. Now, I think this is a very slim possibility. Like we're talking like in the sub 10% range that this actually happens because quarterbacks tend to be traded up for. Remember, even the Mahomes, Watson, Trubisky class, which in hindsight stupidly was talked about as not a great quarterback class. We saw 2 teams trade way up to get those quarterbacks. So, if Washington wants to get him, if he starts slipping, they'll probably have to move to get him. But certainly there's a possibility that they could pick him up. I mean, it's a long shot there.
What about Haskins slipping? Because we're hearing that the media is more enamored with him than necessarily the NFL personnel guys.
And then maybe the Giants aren't going to reach and take a quarterback there at 6. They might go defense.
I don't think the Giants are taking a quarterback at 6.
Okay.
Like Dave Gettleman has been here. The only way the Giants take a quarterback at 6 is if ownership is saying you have to take a quarterback, and if you don't get Daniel Jones, if you don't get Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins, you're fired. And he's paranoid about being fired, and he feels like he's forced into it. If Dave Gettleman is running this draft, and I don't see any reason to believe otherwise, the Giants are going to take a defensive lineman or an double down at 17, in my opinion, and then maybe try to trade back up or hope a quarterback falls in the second round. With Haskins, very notable that in the last 24 hours, his Vegas number, his offshore / Vegas number in terms of prop to be where he's going to be drafted, has slid from like 6.5 down to 9.5 and 10.5 in some spots. And so that should tell you that, I mean, look, you can't read everything in the Vegas markets, and a lot of times they are going off rumors and conjecture that are out there that are plain to see. Like you see Ed Oliver's number has really climbed, and because he's been attached to the Jets. But certainly I think that when you see this shift, as we get closer to the draft, there's going to be a drastic shift in some of these markets in terms of what Vegas has for the props, because they're more widely available now. And it probably reflects the reality of what's happening. Like last year, the morning of the draft, Baker Mayfield was somewhere between 5-1 to 8-1 to be the first overall pick. By 10 a.m., he was like minus 175. And so that's the thing to keep an eye on. Even as you hear the rumors, if you see those Vegas and offshore markets really move quickly, sometimes you're responding to the rumors, but sometimes there's the legitimacy of those possibilities are occurring. And I think there's a good chance that Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray's on the board when the Redskins are picking. But I mean, I know Daniel Jones will be there.
Well, so
people seem to be warming up to Daniel Jones.
So if you were a sports book,
maybe they won't be.
If you were a sports book, Will, and you had to set the money line for the Redskins taking a quarterback at some point in the first round, whether it's 15 or they trade up or trade back, you would set the money line at what?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Like minus 250, minus 200?
Yeah, I was thinking like minus 250 or minus 200. I just think the Redskins, it's such an obvious need. And look, it wouldn't be surprising at all if Washington decided to go in a different direction and improve the, I don't think here's the thing about this draft is so unique because, and it's different in a good way. There's 3 or 4, maybe 5 top end guys. And then after that, like if you told me that Montez Sweat went 6th, I would believe you. And if you told me he went 36th, I would believe you, right? Or like even maybe 46, like if he fell. I just think that there's so many guys who could go in so many different directions that it would be impossible to concretely say, this guy can't go here, this guy can't go here outside of a few guys. So yeah, I think the Redskins, because of their needs, because of their setup, and they're in this weird bad spot where they need to win now. Certain people need to win now, but they don't really. I don't know if they have the roster to win now. And they have multiple quarterbacks. Like they have traded for Case Keenum, and you have a hurt Alex Smith, and you're going to draft a rookie quarterback who you sort of like, but maybe don't love. I mean, what they should do is just take the best player available, ride out whatever happens with this season.